to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharp nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's only one I choose to go my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And take that away.
You know, that's my take. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing.
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It is a science place. It's a scientific fact. We're all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic reversal. Welcome to it. And additionally, welcome to it. And tonight's special episode. Mr. Will Brooks, Dälek. New record. Awesome. Super stoked to talk to this guy. It's a great record, and I think this is gonna be a good conversation. So let's do this preamble thing that I still am, feeling kind of weird about doing, but this is what everyone does. So welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Whether it's your first time or you're a long time, I am your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who has toured and recorded for over 22 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect. Folks that may or may not be household names, but they do something very special. This is episode 293. If this is your first time listening to the show, all the archives are at protonicreversal.com and are always free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. If you'd like to support the show and get episodes sooner, you can give $1 a month to patreon.com/protonicreversal. And if you like the show, or even just a single episode, please feel free to share it along, like, subscribe, or post a review, because all that helps people find the show. And it's just a darn nice thing to do. So there you go. So without further ado, let's go to the precipice here. Well, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, what's good, man?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Let me adjust you a little bit here. There you go. Yeah. I was gonna say.
Face.
I was gonna say it's a great arm. Don't get me wrong, but there's more to life than arms.
All right.
Congrats on the new release, my man. That's it's an awesome record. I was just jamming it earlier on. My understanding is that it wasn't the original. The original record you made was a little different. Like you kind of rejiggered things a little bit, right?
Yeah, we pretty much start working on the next album as soon as an album gets released. So we started working on this, I guess during the time of after we released Endangered Philosophies, and then actually I guess it was probably after that. It was when we did the Respect to the Authors EP. But by working on it, I mean, like I'm just constantly working on tracks, just ideas, and I had a folder of basically like me and Manteca sit down and we'll kind of find the tracks that kind of work together, and we put them together. We probably started with a good like 50 ideas in all different stages of be it some fleshed out, some just basic ideas, and from that we narrowed it down to like 20 something. From that, we narrowed it down to like 17. Those are the ones that we actually started really working on pre-pandemic, fleshed them out some more, arranged them, added overdubs with Joshua Booth, and did some lyrics as well. And then the pandemic hit, and everything stopped. So, for those like 2 years or whatever, right afterwards, I started like when things kind of opened up a little more. I started doing that meditation series on Bandcamp.
Yeah, that was a cool series.
Yeah. And then after that, like when we kind of like in earnest started working on the record again, when we all reconvened, it's like I started, listening to what we had, and it just wasn't really working, man. It was like, I don't know, it just didn't sound right. It didn't sound heavy enough. It didn't sound sad enough. It didn't really convey the things we wanted to convey. So not that we started from scratch, but we kind of, you know, some tracks got omitted, new tracks got put in its place, and then we kind of stripped some of the tracks back down to the basics and rebuilt them to make them work. And we ended up, you know, very stripped down album. We ended up with like 10 songs that really worked together. But yeah, it was definitely a process, man. It was a long road to get here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a time definitely to reflect when you got like something like a global pandemic going on, right? I mean, it's
well, I mean, this is my first experience with one, so
yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm a vet. I'm
oh yeah. Okay. I didn't realize you were around for the influenza of 1902.
Oh yeah, I'm way older than I look, my man. Yeah, way older than I look.
1912, rather.
But it's, you know, you've got a pretty relentless work ethic. There's a lot of Dälek records that, and you're always moving forward, right? So it doesn't seem like you spend a lot of time in self-reflection necessarily.
No, I mean, that's kind of been like the mission statement with the group. It's always just trying to capture. I feel like every record captures who I am at the moment that we record them. As soon as the record's out, I generally tend to hate them. Like right now, like I'm still in the honeymoon phase with this record. It just came out a couple of days ago, but already I'm like, man, I got to start working on the next one. Which, you know, I mean, I feel like that's the beauty of music, man. It's like I want to keep pushing forward. I want to keep evolving. I want to see like where we can take the sound, and just, you know, just keep creating. So that's been us in a nutshell constantly, you know.
Well, and it's still there for people to listen to and enjoy. It just doesn't have to be something that lives in your mind as like an active entity. But
yeah. You know, it's funny. Like, you know, you inevitably get fans who will be like, oh, you know, like the only record I love, you guys were great on Absence, but after that, I hate everything you did. I'm like, well, they're like, why can't you do more records like Absence? I'm like, well, just listen to Absence. It exists.
No one's stopping you.
Yeah, put that shit on repeat. That's fine.
Yeah, I think some people kind of think of music as like comfort food or something, right? And they want to throw on like Ramones. I love the Ramones, right? But how many, you know, look, how many Ramones records do you need?
Right. No, but you know, but I also get it. It's like, you know, you find a record that resonates with you, and you know that's a beautiful thing, and I appreciate that. Don't get me to, you know, don't get it twisted. But I just feel like it's like for the person who's creating it, it's hard to like just live in that moment forever. Like you want to keep building. Like a lot of those early records, it's like, you know, like I was writing those when I was a kid. You know what I mean? So
you're a different guy now.
Yeah, I'm 46 years old. I'm a different person. If I was still thinking the same way I was thinking when I was 20, there's a problem. You know what I mean? Like I would hope that I've evolved, and I would hope that. Oh shit! Someone came in. I got a bunch of people here in the studio with me. They just chatting. Don't mind them. Don't mind them goons. But yeah, but I'll say, I'll be like, yeah, like it, you know. Like you would hope that the music you create keeps evolving, it keeps changing. Like, you know, like I wouldn't want to be creating the same music I was creating when I was 20 years old. I want to keep growing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and it's again, like, you know, we talked about, like, you're a different person now. You're hopefully growing as an artist too, right? So since you're growing as an artist, like you want to like try new stuff out, and but then by the same token, it's some of it is, you know, you find stuff that you did well, and then you're like, all right, let's grow on that. Let's like you know, move that a little more. Like it's not like you're.
No, yeah, but when I talk about growth, it's not like I'm not saying that, like, you know, from my first record to my last record, it's like this monumental like shift of complete style and you know, essence. I mean, like the core of it is what it is. I'm just saying that, like, my approach to it, like how I'm writing, what I'm saying lyrically, like all these things, you know, there's nuance to it and it changes over time. You know, like you don't really stay in the same place. But that, you know, again, like I also feel that as an artist, you're never really like, you can't really write music for fans. Like you have to write it for yourself. You know what I mean? Like the moment that you're trying to figure out what people like it's done. It's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
Well, you're making a commodity, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I'm not like none of it. Like I appreciate that my records resonate with certain people, and I think that's an amazing thing. Like it's crazy to me. You know what I mean? That we have like fans all over this planet that like what I've created for myself, in essence, resonates with them on so many levels. I think that's a beautiful thing. But I've never, like I've always said, it's like this shit to me is more like my therapy. Like I'm doing it for very selfish reasons. You know what I mean? Like the fact
that you would still be doing it even if there wasn't an audience, right?
Yeah. The fact that I've gotten to do this like for a living and as a career is crazy to me. But and I'm very grateful for that. But really, I'd be doing it, you know, in my basement or in my attic, like regardless. You know what I mean?
Sure, but the thing is, it does resonate with people, and so there's you know you're providing some give and take into the great musical bouillabaisse that is the world, which is how I've always looked at it.
Right.
It's you take turns, right?
Yeah.
you take turns inspiring and be inspired. Hopefully.
Yeah, no doubt. And also, I mean, like obviously, it's like everything that I've done has been built off of everything that inspired me. And I'm continuously inspired even by newer artists. You know what I mean? Like I was talking about that earlier. It's like I see what new cats are doing, and that keeps me motivated. It keeps me sharp. It keeps me wanting to keep building. You know what I mean? Like as they raise the bar, I want to raise the bar. You know what I mean? Like I have no plans on stopping anytime soon. So to me, it's like I just want to keep building.
No, and that makes sense. And I think that's kind of seems like it's always sort of been the case too. I mean, first time I ever heard you guys' stuff, I was like, oh dang. So it's sort of like one part Public Enemy, one part My Bloody Valentine. This is why. And it was just this shows a audience of all ages, but for the younger listeners and viewers, that wasn't done. That wasn't
not right. Yeah. The weird thing is, like, I feel like it's more accepted now because everything. I feel like even pop music is like a combination of so many things now. But like when we were coming up, man, like genres were very, very defined in a way. You know what I mean? And like we just kind of like we never fit anywhere. We just kind of like decided to create our own lane and just make sounds that felt right to us. And we did it, man. And like it wasn't an easy road, but I appreciate I appreciate the what it took to get from there to here.
Well, I think it's interesting too, because things that are like heretical genre trader things at the time, like later on become like, oh yeah, of course, that's a thing that's done now. It's like, well, now sure, man, but like the internet has really kind of like taken down a lot.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but I feel like when I was coming up, and I'm sure you could attest to this, like all like every music scene was very localized. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
yes,
yeah, like it's like if you were even like within like a genre, like if you were into hip hop, even if you were like into underground hip hop from New York or New Jersey would be very different from Philly or very different from Chicago, very different from LA. And like you didn't necessarily know about the other scenes or what was going on a ground level because the internet wasn't there. You know what I mean? Unless you had someone who went out there and you had your people come back with the tapes or vinyl or whatever, and they showing you what's going on like in the underground. Like that's how like that was passed from person to person. Where now you can be literally anywhere on the planet as long as you have an internet connection, and you could be up on every underground genre on the planet. You know what I mean? Like you could know what's going on in Brooklyn or in San Francisco or wherever. You know what I mean? Like I could be the biggest fan of underground hip hop from Japan right now, and I could have all the releases. You know what I mean?
With like a few clicks or taps.
Yeah, which I mean, like it's and like I've always felt like that's like a double-edged sword. I feel like there was something. I mean, and I don't know. I think it's great that everything's at our fingertips. I also feel like we might have lost like the intimacy of what underground scenes used to be. But whatever. Like there's like to me like there's no need in being nostalgic because the world has changed and you got to just adapt. And it is what it is now. Like there's no going back. You know what I mean? But going back to like when we started. Like for real, like we used to play shows, man, and like we would clear the room. You know what I mean? Like if there was, I'm talking, we were playing underground shows to begin with, where there wasn't that many people to start with. Say if there was 30 people, by the time the middle of our first song, there'd be like 5 people left. You know what I mean? So that was like a regular occurrence for us.
Yeah, but I think you're onto something with like the regional aspect of things too, because there were also records that I would hear where it was like, oh, this sounds like it's like what? This sounds like it's from Mars. Like, what is this? And records of all kinds too, like Jesus Lizard, Wu-Tang. I mean, even first time I heard Sonic Youth, it kicked my brain in. Right, yeah. I was like, what is that? A guitar? What is happening? And then you get to you get an ear for it, and like, oh, that's that New York, that no wave New York. Okay, cool. And then you can kind of like hear other bands and acts that sort of, and you can put it together, and it's like a puzzle. And now it's just all like wham, it's right there for you. Like here, it's
Right.
here's this band. They came out this time.
I kind of like look at it like where we used to have to dig through crates. Now you just have to dig through digital crates. You know what I mean? Like it's the same concept. It's just, multiplied. But there really is, in my opinion, we're living through like a renaissance of underground hip hop, like where there's so many amazing bands coming out right now that it's beautiful, man. Like I love it. You know what I mean? And also, like I feel like for the kind of stuff that we do, like you said, like when we started, there wasn't that many people really doing what we were doing. There were people, obviously. I mean, like, even if we didn't know of each other, whatever it was, the zeitgeist or whatever, there was people like Anti-Pop Consortium, like there was Divine Styler, there was New Kingdom, there was like Kevin Martin and them, Techno Animal. You know what I mean? Like these groups have always existed, like kind of like outlier hip hop groups, but it wasn't like known like it's known now. I feel like now there's more of almost like a subgenre where what we do kind of fits in more. You know what I mean? And even within that, it's not, people always try to compare, but I feel like there's such a variety even within that subgenre. Like when you talk about groups like Death Grips and Clipping, Moody Black, Fatboy Sharif, there's like so many groups that are still doing, it's still very diverse regardless. You know what I mean? Like it's like, you could lump this all together because it's noisy and it's not mainstream hip hop, but once you actually listen to each record, there's so many varied styles. You know what I mean? Like everyone's kind of doing their own thing regardless. And like, I'm sure like, one bands influence each other, but that's the nature of music. I mean, every band has always influenced each other. That's how music works.
Well, yeah, and it holds true that, like, I've talked to, especially like older folks, not like geriatric, but like older musicians that come on the show, and it used to be like, oh man, if you sounded like another band, like you would get clowned on. Like you'd be like, what?
Yeah, but that I mean, to me, like that was like that's what cracks me up, because like when people were like, oh, when we first started, they were like, oh, you guys sound so different. I'm like, yeah, but like in hip hop, biting was like the worst thing you could possibly do. You know what I mean? It's like you were supposed to find your own voice and your own style. Like that was the whole point of this. So it's like, to me, like especially like when you get a lot of people that would be like, oh, is it really hip hop? And I'm like, well, first off, hip hop is my culture. A lot of people don't understand that because like they just think of hip hop as rap music, but it's like, yo, hip hop is the entire culture. It's not just the music. You know what I mean? So whether or not it's hip hop, that's not even I don't even find like it's not even worth discussing that with people, because yes, it's hip hop. It's my culture. You know what I mean? And it really, like, dialect as a music really upholds those like central tenets of hip hop about being original and about taking everything around you and creating something brand new. Like that's, like listen to, I always like, I always give the example of like Africa Bambaataa and what I mean, like what he was doing early. You know what I mean? And it's like
Planet Rock. No one knew what was going on.
It's like, yo, it's like you got to do for the Bronx sampling kraut rock. It's like, yo, like how, you know what I mean? Like, come on. Like obviously, like it's always been about listening to everything. If you speak to most DJs, they'll be the most eclectic music fans, because that's what it's been about, man.
Well, because you're searching for the sound and you're searching for inspiration, right? And then absolutely. Like you find something and you're like, oh, that's cool, and like even like you mishear something, and then like it becomes something else cool, and that's how like that's how the wild world of creativity should work. It's an algorithm.
Yeah.
Well, it blows me away that you guys also like have shared the stage with so many different bands. Like I saw you a bunch of times, and it was never at like, oh, I'm going to the hip hop show. It was like, oh, this is like Dillinger Escape Plan or Melvin.
There has been a few hip hop shows mixed in, but
there have. So yes,
like we did some shows with KRS-One. We did some shows with Prince Paul, De La Soul, Farside. I mean, like we've done some shows, but you're right. But we've looked at it more like,
I'm talking about my experience.
Right. But I'm saying like we've really, to be honest with you, like we played whatever was available to us, because to me it was always about playing in front of as many audiences as possible, understanding that our music isn't for everyone, but understanding that if we play in front of as many people as we can, we're gonna find the people that it resonates with.
You'll find your people.
Yeah, we find. I mean, like that's, to me, like that's what music's all about. It's like you need to find your tribe. You know what I mean? And like we've made a career of finding our tribe amongst all different genres and kind of collecting all these weirdos that are into us and that keep coming out. And that's, I mean, it's a beautiful thing, man. You know, like,
well, and you got to be confident in what you're doing, and you got to be somewhat fearless about it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like to be a musician, at least the way I feel about it, I feel like you kind of have to have very thick skin, and you can't really give a fuck about what people say or think. You know what I mean? Because it's like I've read amazing reviews, and I've read, like, you know, reviews where they not only trash me, but they'll like straight up like personally attack me.
You're a terrible person somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've had a few where they're like, yo, the music is bland and he's fat, and I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? You know what I mean? But word up, like I need to look that review up, but I really have had those. But I also like I think it's like those reviews are hilarious because I'm like, yo, like I would bet that whoever wrote that shit would not say that to me in person.
Oh, no, are you kidding
me? I would bet a whole American dollar. You know what I mean? But yeah, but that's, you know, but once again, speaking about the beauty of the internet, it's like, you know, the anonymity. It's like, you know what I mean, you could say whatever you want, and like there's no repercussions, or so people think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's the conceit of it anyway.
Right.
The classic example I can think of is when Roger Ebert blasted Vincent Gallo for the Brown Bunny, which he hated. I didn't care for it either. I like Buffalo 66. That Brown Bunny sucked. But Vincent Gallo said he had the physique of a slave trader, right? Which, okay, you know, solid diss. And then Roger Ebert's response was, well, I can still lose weight, but you'll always be the director of the Brown Bunny, which I thought was
yeah, that's rough. Wow.
Oh, that one made me happy. I don't normally get into that, you know, that kind of thing, but I was like, that's how it ought to be if you're going to do that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, but I mean, like, honestly, like, but really, to be honest with you, like, no bad review really like upsets me. I'm like, yo, like, I like either end of it. You know what I mean? Like, I like any kind of visceral reaction to what I do. Like, either love it or hate it.
Like, a strong negative reaction.
The people that are like in the middle, that like are kind of like, nah, he's all right. Like, that's the shit that bothers me. You know, because I'm like, yo, I didn't do something right then. Because like, it's like, if you hate me, great. Like, that's like, I know this shit ain't for everyone. But if you have that strong of an opinion, like, I think that's a beautiful thing. But yeah, man, it's like, again, like I said, it's like, you know, like, I primarily do this for myself. So if you don't feel it, I get it, no problem. You know what I mean?
Well, if you're trying to appeal to everyone, you're basically going to be appealing to no one.
Right. Yeah. That's the truth. It's like, yeah, you like, what the fuck kind of art is that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's
music.
Exactly. It's going to be as inoffensive as possible. Oh, good.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
What a wonderful world that would be.
So listen, man. Let's talk about Precipice. This just came out, right?
Yeah.
This is the first COVID record. Hopefully the last COVID record. Honestly, it's the rate we're going. Who knows, right?
Right. First COVID-19 record.
Exactly. We're up to COVID 45. You know,
there'll be more.
The rate we're going, definitely. And you know, there's some really cool songs that are on here, and I think there's a lot here for listeners to kind of dig into. Something that I've kind of been doing, like, since the pandemic started, actually, is when I have some of the new record, is kind of go through each of the songs and like we talk about, right? Like, so talk about like the lyrics, the production, maybe in some cases like how it may have changed. Since you mentioned that, you know, like, you kind of went back to the drawing board on a lot of stuff, you know, just anything that like comes to mind or whatever. You into doing that, like that level of detail, like
Good.
Stories, whatever. All right, cool. So I think it's an interesting record, and it's.
I mean, to the best of my, I may plead the fifth on a bunch of questions because like some of the things I'm not going to remember. But
it's like, you know, it doesn't need to be like a comprehensive overview necessarily. Just like, you know, whatever springs to mind, whatever bubbles up to the surface.
Okay.
So first one we got, so Precipice, Lest We Forget.
So that one is interesting because that is a track that was brought to the table by Mike Manteca after we reconvened, and it really set the table because as soon as I heard that track, I was like, yo, that's, first off, I knew right away that was the opener.
Nice.
And I told him, I was like, that's the mood I want to set for everything else that follows. I think like that one was pretty much done before I even got my hands on it. Like I added, I think like a bass line to that and can't remember if it was like a piano or a synth. I got to listen to it again, but I definitely added a bass line. But it was primarily, Manteca that brought it as is, and I just thought it was gorgeous. I just think it's a beautiful track, and I just feel like it captured like just the feel. You know what I mean? Like the hurt, the loss, the anger, all of that. You know what I mean? Like I think it sets it up beautifully, and also like it's. I just love the juxtaposition because it's like it sounds so heavy, but then the next track kicks in, and it's like, yo, like what? Like when those drums kick in, it just makes it seem. Yeah, I mean, like I just love the way it goes from one track to the other. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you had in mind that was gonna be how you kicked it off, because I think opening tracks are important, especially these days.
Yeah. I mean, like we definitely we always look at sequencing. That's a very important thing to us, like the order in which the tracks are placed. Like I always envision the album as an album. I know like the world is more of a singles world now, but I still listen to things like complete. So I want to hear it as one sitting listening. You know what I mean? So like to me, like how the songs play off of each other, it really matters to me. So I like that song going into the next one. I think the next was Boycott, right?
Boycott.
Yeah, the drums of Boycott, like it made the drums sound 10 times heavier. You know what I mean? Like it's just
contrast, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's funny because it's like dynamics, but without. It's like the first track is heavy as fuck. It just happens to have no drums, but it's like when Boycott kicks in, it gives you like a new idea of what heavy is. You know what I mean? It just kind of like ups the level of it. So I thought it really worked really well. But yeah, but lest we forget, really captured like what the album needed to be. That was like a track that was brought in after we reconvened, and it's dope. I love it.
Yeah, there's that same principle. There's Retro Vertigo, that Mr. Bungle song that which a former guest of the show, Trevor Dunn, we talked about that a lot, and I think it's a super killer, like very catchy melody, and he kind of wraps you in, and then like the drums kick in, like I don't know, it's like 3 minutes in or something. You're like, oh, like it just seems like a stadium suddenly opened up in front of you.
Yeah. Like what I love stuff like that, but it's like you have to as a music fan, you have to have the patience for it, which unfortunately a lot of people don't. I mean, like they want like that instant gratification. To me, it's like having like like those extended passages, and then you have that payoff at the end. It just makes it so much better. You know?
Yeah, like it's very satisfying.
Absolutely, yeah. Word up.
Decimation.
Decimation might be one of my favorite ones on the album. Just lyrically. Just like the vibe of it, the drums like that, I can't help but move when I hear it. You know what I mean? Like it's like heavy, but like in a different way, man. Like almost like this like tribal feel to the whole thing. Like it's like this whole like marching vibe to it. It's just like that. I can't wait to play that one live, man.
Yeah, it seems like that would be a pretty killer live jam for sure. Do you have a how do you feel about lyrics and like printing lyrics and stuff like that? That's a question I wanted to ask you.
Printing lyrics?
Yeah, like
yeah. I mean, like we kind of fluctuate between making people work for it, right. and then like just having the lyrics out there. I think this time around, if you purchase the CD, the lyrics are in the booklet.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
They're not on the vinyl, just because the layout was just different. But well, probably. I mean, like we tend to have the lyrics are on the website. They're not up yet, but they will be up. But for most of the albums, they're up there. I mean, like you just have to look on the website. I mean, I feel like I don't want to spoon feed people the lyrics either, though. Like I almost feel like sometimes like whatever you think the lyrics are might be better for you. You know what I mean?
Right. Because there's that whole, I forget what the phrase of it is. That there's a word for it, but you mishear something.
Yeah.
But as different as what, and sometimes it can be like awesome. Like,
yeah.
I know people name bands that way, you know.
And I think, I mean, like I think, like like we were conscious of like I think like this album is probably like the loudest my vocals have been in a long time. You know what I mean?
They're pretty up there, yeah.
For us anyway. You know what I mean? But I mean, I think the songs that I want people to hear what I'm saying, you can, and the ones where it's up to interpretation, they're like that for a purpose. You know what I mean? And whatever you interpret it as is fine. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like what I think the lyrics mean to me only really matters to me. Like what you make out of them, you can make, you could draw your own conclusions. And like I said, like there's certain songs where I made it obvious enough where you can't really, it's not going to sound like anything else but what I'm saying. So
yeah, no one's going to be mistaking it for being food or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the ones, you know what I mean? Like I believe there's a line where I said "fuck your children." Yeah, I said "fuck your children." Like that was there. It says it. So,
yeah, there's no ambiguity.
Exactly.
And also like I mean I think that's that feels like that one's very well placed. That was very well placed in the record for
Decimation.
Yeah. So next up is Good.
Yeah, Good is really interesting, man, because I feel like the style is unlike anything that we've done for Dialect. It's almost like it might be like one of the poppiest Dialect tracks in a weird way. Yeah, like I mean, like obviously it's still a Dialect track. Like I'm not saying it's it's like mainstream hip hop. I just mean like the vibe of it is definitely there's something really catchy about it that I really like though. And it's actually funny, like you saying like like hearing something that's not actually there. That little hook sample, that good is not actually saying good, but I'm telling you that it's saying good, so then you believe it's saying good.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually more of a you know what I mean? But like in the context of it, like it becomes good, and that's what it says.
Yeah, the listener's mind fills it in.
Yeah,
as like that's the thing that's happening there. I there's a word for that too, and I don't know it. I apparently need to buy a thesaurus.
Yeah, you don't know many words.
Yeah, apparently for such a loquacious mind, I don't know many words. Apparently, holistic. What you got next?
Yeah, holistic. I feel lyrically is one that I'm just really proud of, man, because it's just more boom bap. Yeah, I mean, like I'm just spitting on that, and I just kind of went for it and just just like I said, just spitting. And the track itself, that's another one that came after we reconvened, so it just has like that rawness to it, and just I mean, like it's just that one to me is just straight up hip hop, man. It's there, you know what I mean, like there's not a lot to it, but what's there, everything has a purpose. You know what I mean, like it's just very nicely built and strongly built.
I will say it's as straight up as you guys get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what again, like everyone, like please take this like within the context of that. Everything I do is really fucked up and skewed.
Right, exactly. So you're gonna think it's like real like straightforward. And
like listen, there was at one point like I had like my side project Iconoclast, which in my mind was like straight up boom bap hip hop. It's not. I mean, like it's the best attempt I can do at like straight up like boom bap hip hop. There's just really something wrong with my brain. So.
Well, you got your way that you operate and your way that you create things.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like for as like straightforward as I try to be, it never really quite is. It is in my mind, but when you listen to it, it's not. There's always something a little skewed to it. But holistic is in the scheme of this album is probably as straightforward as it gets. I feel like Good is like the poppies we get, and holistic is like just the most like just straight up boom bap underground kind of just spitting kind of track.
The Harbingers,
I imagine I'd like to make this happen somehow. I imagine Eddie from Iron Maiden appearing behind us and growing to the size of like maybe 16 stories and coming out like with like one of those like sickles and just like decapitating the first 6 rows of audience members, Guar style.
Right, yeah.
There's like blood everywhere. And then like no one could escape, and then like this gigantic Eddie is just in the venue. I feel like that is what that song sounds like to me.
There's a great recent Hard Times article. It says Eddie wishes Iron Maiden would come up with album art concept about relaxing on the beach or something. And he's like in a war, and there's a bomb going off behind him. He's like in a train.
Eddie's been through a lot, man.
He has, man. That dude's like the Where's Waldo of Woe.
He has literally been in the trenches. He's been like a fighter pilot. Like, man. The dude, like, give him a holiday straight up.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, here I am trying to recruit him for my band track. But I mean, like, at least it becomes our way. You know what I mean? Like the idea of the track. There's like a line. I can't remember the lyrics exactly, but what I talk about. Let's suffocate all the misogynists, racists, and narcissists. My daydreams are marvelous. Like that was that line when I wrote that. That definitely made me smile.
Yeah, that's one where there's not a lot of ambiguity too, and I'm
yeah.
Right there. Yeah, but Eddie, give him a call, all right?
Yeah, word up, yeah. Eddie, have your people call my people. Let's work something out. I ain't made any doing too much right now. I don't think they're touring at the moment. So
maybe Bruce can fly him over. Devotion.
Devotion is another track that Manteca brought to the table. And that one I again added bass, added a synth and a piano, I think, and the lyrics obviously. But yeah, again, just gorgeous, very shoegazy, obviously. Definitely like I put it as in my mind, it's like a relative track to Forever Close My Eyes on an earlier album.
Yeah.
It just has like that feel to me. Also probably because it's a track we'll probably never play live, much like Forever Close My Eyes. But it's just I feel like that track really just like it kind of captures like so many emotions and so many feelings. It's I feel like every one of our albums has like not like necessarily that exact kind of track, but a track like that that's kind of like left to center. But that is like very, it just captures like whatever I'm going through at that moment. But this one just really felt like it needed to be on the record, man. And again, like when Manteca brought like Lest We Forget in this one to the table, it was just like, yeah, man, like that. Those were like, it was like right away. I was like, absolutely, those two are going on the album. I mean, there was like no question. So there's certain tracks that just, that they have to be released, and like that was definitely one of them.
It's like an emotional centerpiece almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it works, and it works very well with where it's at too. Did you ever like? So you've done a lot of records at this point, so you're fine with there being songs like that's the song that's gonna be in the record. We're probably not gonna play that one live. Did it ever used to stress you out or anything?
Nah. I mean, it's weird, man. Like I although I've, this has been my chosen career for more than almost like 25 years. This is gonna sound crazy, but I'm not like in real life. I'm not the type of dude that like needs attention or like likes to be in front of people or any of that. Like I know, like I'm up on stage and I perform, but it's like I've grown to love that. When I first started, I didn't really. Like, I used to love working in the studio. I used to dread like playing shows. Like I wasn't a performer. I was, like I was an MC and I was a producer, and I like to make records, and then I was kind of forced to perform them. And I've grown to love it. Like I absolutely love it now. Like especially like these last 2 years where I wasn't able to, 2.5 years where I wasn't able to perform, I missed it so much. Like being on stage. It was like it was shocking how much I missed it.
Someone cut off a limb or something.
Yeah, it was heavy, man. But it's weird how like I grew to love that. So the idea of not playing songs to me just means it's less lyrics for me to remember. And which gets harder and harder, man. Because like it's like you make more records, and then like I'm supposed to remember songs that I wrote like 20 years ago, plus the new ones. I don't think I have enough room in my head anymore. Like, if I learn a new song, I'm gonna forget how to tie my shoes. So
exactly. You're gonna start. You can get all Ralph Roberts on and start forgetting what peanut butter is. Yeah. Oh, but hey, remember that song from like 6 records ago? So that's good. Yeah. So next up, Heretics Inheritance, one of my favorites on the record.
Yeah. So there's a version of that song that exists without Adam Jones on it. For the people that don't know, Adam Jones from Tool is on that song. So
up-and-comers called Tool. Yeah.
Yeah. This new band.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help him out. You know what I mean? So I figured let me give this kid a shot and give him a little guest appearance on the record. See if it does anything for the career.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. It's still, it's early. We'll see what happens. But yeah, there was there's a version without him on it, and I was listening to the rough mixes here at the studio, and one night I was just like, man, like he would sound perfect on this. And me and him have like wanted to work on something for a long time. I presented him with the idea. He was like, yo, give me a couple of days. He locked himself in the studio, sends me back a Pro Tools session, like with like, I don't know how many tracks of just like ideas. Like it was just it was overwhelming. There was so much stuff, you know what I mean? And he had added like guitars, he had added synths. He had looped like my track itself in a way that I'm still not sure how he did it. Like I tried to replicate it, but I kind of got it, but not quite. And then there was like it was like all just like mass amount. There was like there actually was a guitar solo too. But the funny thing is that's not what I really wanted from him. I didn't want a guitar solo. I wanted everything else that he did.
Yeah.
Because to me it's like I wanted his like his sound in our universe, and I think like we captured that. Because I didn't want it to be like, oh, here's a dialect track, and hey, here's Adam Jones from Tool doing his guitar solo.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like that's like too
like Cherry King and the Beastie Boys.
yeah. I just felt like that was just kind of like, I don't know, man. Like that's not what I wanted. I really respect him as a musician. I respect him as a guitarist. Obviously, he's a guitar god, but like just overall, like I respect him as a musician, and I just wanted like his sound on what we were doing. And it was funny, like everything else that he had done in like on that Pro Tools session is what that was like. All like the guitar feedback, the noise, like the synth lines, like all this stuff that he added was perfect. And there was even like, he had told me, he was like, yeah, he's like, I left this other track where I guess like through the pedals, he had picked up some radio broadcasts, and there was like this Martin Luther King speech that came through randomly. And like when I heard it, I was like, yo, perfect. I was like, that's what I was that's what I was waiting for. Because there's always a moment on every album where things will start happening that there's no explanation for. And I was like, it just happened on what you sent me. I'm like, that's exactly what the track needed. And it works perfectly. And when I sent it back to him, he was like, where's the guitar solo? I was like, don't worry about that. I was like, I keep telling people, I was like, I may be the only artist that asked Adam Jones to be on the track and like didn't add his guitar solo. But I think it works. I love it. I think what he did is amazing on it. And I'm like so grateful to have him on there, man. Like he really killed it. And it's he kept on telling me that this doesn't count as far as like me and him working together. He's like, this is like one thing. He's like, well, we still have to do something together. So the idea is that we're going to work on a separate thing, something, in the future. So
yeah, like twist my arm, fine, I'll help you.
Yeah, I was like, I guess so, man. If you need me for something else, all right, I'll help you out. These young kids, man.
Yeah, exactly. They're thirsty. I think that song's got a real cool, like hypnotic.
Yeah, I think, and I think like that side of it, like where it needs to be as long as it is, because you need to kind of fall into it. And you're right, like be hypnotized by the whole beginning. The whole beginning ended up being like what Adam did. So it's like this whole like instrumental passage basically, and then it kind of breaks down. And it's just like this drone, and then like the drums and the lyrics come in, and you're like, "What? Like, where the fuck did this come from?" I mean, and again, like we were talking about like payoffs in a song like that. I think it's perfect, like the way it does that.
Yeah,
it makes you think of like some of those Berlin Bowie records, where we're just. The cocaine flowed freely, and so did the intros.
Yeah. There's definitely a fine line of how long you could make something,
but it works because it keeps you engaged the whole time, and then when you almost kind of lose track of what's happening, there's like, oh yeah, right, okay, cool. Like it's a nice, it's a nice song in that way, and I think it's good that you didn't just start the record with that, because I like that it's sort of like an earned payoff when you listen to it, where it is in the record, which is like,
and I also love I love like the lyrical content and like the hook. I think like when lyrics come in, and like the hook especially is like, those are some of my favorite lines. I don't give. I hold myself to a higher standard. I don't give a fuck if you guys are angry. You know what I mean? There's something like very, very cool about being able to say that over and over again.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as a proud secular humanist, I was like, right on.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's good.
I can't wait to play that in Middle America.
Yeah, go play that in the Bible Belt.
I'm not touring in the Bible Belt. Come on.
Play one of them Blues Brothers bars with fire.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Come on. I'm an East Coast elite, man. I'm not. Isn't that what we are? Whatever.
Yeah, apparently, that's what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
So then you got the title track after that. So Precipice.
Yes. Precipice was another like late edition. That'd be like that one is just kind of. I feel like the that one is a good example of. I mean, it's all kind of all over the record, but there's a lot of like things happening in the background. Like it seems like very straightforward, but there's like a lot of layered vocals and like affected vocals that I really want people to kind of like be affected by on like third and fourth listens. You know what I mean? There's like kind of like little melodies and little things that kind of pop in like in left and right speaker kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like I love stuff like that, man. Like I've always been a fan of like the later Beatle records when they were experimenting with stuff like that. And I love that stuff, man. I'm a sucker for that. Like, you know what I mean? Like just like weird backing vocals and all that. And like we kind of took our time to really do that with this album on most tracks. But this one kind of has a lot of that in it. You know what I mean? Like where you kind of like you hear like that the crafting of the backing vocals and all that stuff. But it's like I'm always like weird about having like I usually don't have title tracks, but we did.
I was gonna ask about that, yeah, because
usually the albums are usually named off of like it'll be just a title of an album and it won't be a track usually. I mean, I think maybe we might have done other ones where we have title tracks. I can't remember offhand, but I know this one does have it. But it just worked that way. I really like the concept of just like the idea of Precipice. You know what I mean, especially like where we are in the world today and where we are and like where I am in life and just in general. You know what I mean? Like I felt like Precipice was a good title for the album.
Fitting, yeah.
Well,
I think it's a good, all the stuff you're mentioning. I call it like being a good headphone record, right? You can you just go with headphones. It's going to be a different experience than you just have it like going, while you're doing the dishes or something in the room. And I like that. Some of the a lot of my favorite records are that way, where you're like, oh hey, I never noticed that. You're kind of like, oh cool, that's neat.
My favorite records have always been the ones like where I listen to them like years later and I'm still discovering like little things that I never heard before. You know what I mean? Like I'm a big fan of Tom Petty, and Wildflowers is like one of my favorite records.
Wildflowers is so great.
And I've been listening to that record since it came out, and I remember like it might have been maybe like a year ago or 2 years ago. There's like, what song is it? There's like a piano lick on this one song where I was just like, I'd never heard it before. It's like this little piano line that just happens, and I'm like, how the fuck did I not hear that? But now I can't help but hear it, and I wait for it now. You know what I mean? But it's like little things like that, man. It's like that. That's what makes, I don't know, like it just makes music so beautiful to me. It makes albums so beautiful. It's like you could tell that the artist like spent like time crafting it. You know what I mean? And I want to give that to people like when they listen to it, like where it's not, the song is what it is, but then like you're gonna hear it again and it'll be other things in there that you're not picking up the first time.
Yeah, I mean it's a certain kind of record making, and there's almost this, you have to have this understanding, this letting go of the fact that some people may never dig that deep. That's all right.
It's
fun, right?
Yeah. I mean, we as musicians, we already sit here and I'm sitting here listening to a snare for like 30 hours just to make sure that, does that sound right? You know what I mean? And it's like, so you kind of have to be insane to begin with anyway to do this. So,
hey, allegedly, that's what Metallica did with Saint Anger. Yeah, really?
Well, they didn't get it right.
Like you listened to that for 3 weeks. That's what you came up with? You came up with
Laws, you fucked up. You know you don't fucked up. You know you don't fuck that.
Some internet genius replaced the snare sound on Master of Puppets with the snare sound from Saint Anger, and it is look, it's for a certain type of person, and I'm that person. I'll put it that way. Leave it at that.
Oh, man.
Lars Ulrich coming up next week.
Yeah, tell him I said what's up.
And then closing out the record, you got Insight.
Yes, Insight. Yeah. Yeah, Insight was dope, man. And that's another one like those like weird happy accidents. I won't disclose where the backing sounds come from, but in digging and coming up with like, like I wanted these like sounds in the background. I found like this like I believe it's like sounds like from Rikers Island, and it was like from I think like the 60s or 70s. And the weird thing is, if you listen to the beginning right before I start rhyming, there's like a part where you hear Mr. Brooks, and that was in that like those sounds that I found. My last name is Brooks,
right? Yeah.
And I felt like when that happened, I was just like, yo, like this is it was like one of those moments where I was just like, yo, that's crazy, because it was like, yo, like the chances of that occurring are pretty slim. You know what I mean? But yeah, like it just like, I feel like the track is just, it's a closer, man. You know what I mean? That's a Mariano. That's a Mariano. I'm rocking my Yankee hat, so that's the Mariano Rivera of the album.
Right.
That is a motherfucking closer. That's the way you close out an album. And I love the extended like hook at the end. Like it kind of like goes on forever and keeps evolving. And it just gets heavier and heavier. And I kind of did this thing like where every time it kicks back in, it's like a 1 dB louder. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like subtly building to like where it's almost like not even contained in the speakers. Like I wanted it to feel like it was like borderline gonna bust out of the speakers. You know what I mean?
It's almost like the what is it, the frog in the boiling pot of water, right? So it keeps turning it up.
Yeah. And that's like, I mean, like it's funny. Like the album is meant to be turned up loud. I didn't necessarily we didn't master it as loud as we could have, because I don't like that at this point, because I feel like you lose the dynamics and you lose a lot of the detail in the music. So to me, it's like I want people to listen to it loud, but just use that, use your volume knob. That's what it's there for. You know what I mean? Like turn it up louder.
Yeah, there was a big there's a thing in like I feel like it was like the early 2000s where it's just the loudness wars, where everyone's just trying to like make everything louder and everything else, and then you like look at the file, it's just like a freaking
it's a brick. And like it's like you lose all dynamic, and you lose like all like to me it's like you need the quiet parts to make the loud parts sound loud. So like to me it's like when we mix and we master, we just do it to a level where it's listen, like you can listen to it. But if you want it to knock the way it's going to knock when you hear it live, just turn it up louder. You know what I mean? But that's the idea of the whole album, but especially that last track. It's like I kind of like I kind of gave it like those little boosts just to emphasize that. But it's meant to, like, at this point when I'm making records, I do think about what it's going to sound like when I play it live, and that was one where I was like, oh yeah, this was going to be crazy. When we play this shit live, it's going to be nuts. You know what I mean?
No, it seems like it would translate well. And I did notice the slight volume increase the first time.
Nice. Very cool.
They're turning this up. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, is this my imagination? No, I don't think it is. So those are the tracks on Precipice. Of course, you can get Precipice. DialectBandcamp.com, Ipecac, wherever your finer records are sold. I think you got there's like that gatefold.
Yeah, the vinyl is gorgeous. The funny thing is, man, like I've seen people like posting pictures of getting the vinyl. I just got mine today, so I'm finally part of the club. Because I was starting to get vinyl envy. I was like, damn, man. I was like, everyone has their vinyl, and they're telling me how amazing it looks, and I'm like, man. I was like, I've only seen the PDF files,
right?
But yeah, I finally got it in my hands, man. That shit is dope. I will. 100%. That shit is ill. I love, like, shout outs to Paul Romano, my art director, and Mike Elam, who did the interior art. Yeah, man, like they killed the artwork. Paul Romano's been doing our artwork since Abandoned Language, and he
also does the Mastodon stuff.
Yeah, he's done Mastodon. He's done he's done all types of bands, but yeah, like he's
got a very distinctive style, is why I say.
Yeah, he's been like we basically have decreed him our art director, and basically I don't see the artwork till it's done. I I give him the album title. I give him rough mixes as they're coming. It usually starts with instrumentals. Then I give him like the final mixes as they're coming, and then he works on the artwork. And he usually hands it in like at the deadline, and shows me first. And I just know that it's gonna be fly. Like I know it's gonna be dope. And this time was no exception. This time he really knocked it out the park, man. Like I was blown away when I saw this artwork. I can't wait for people to peep it. It's so beautiful.
Well, and it fits too. It fits in a way that it's got its own thing, but it fits. It fits the vibe, right? So that's what good art should do. I mean, I've seen records that are like, God, that record's so great, and that artwork is so bad. Like, what were they thinking?
Well, I think that was I believe that was like our Absence record, which I think I did the artwork for that. And I looking back on it, I'm like, damn, man, I wish I had Paul Romano for that record. And I mean, like our early records, like with the exception of Filthy Tongue, I do like that artwork, but but the Negro, Necros, and Absence did not really have good artwork. But maybe the reissues will get Paul Romano to rework those.
I'm looking at it. It's been a while. I was looking at Absence. That's fine. It doesn't do any harm. It's not.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's whatever.
It doesn't pop at you, but
yeah,
I've seen worse. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but it's weird, man. It makes a huge difference having someone dedicated to do that side of it. You know what I mean? Because he's creating like the visuals for what we do, like sonically. It's a good matchup and a good team. Man.
It helps create the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It helps create this world that you're making.
Yeah, word up.
So tell me about the Meditations series. I thought that was a cool thing.
Yeah, so that, I mean, like that was kind of, I think the favorite thing about that to me is that it just happened so organically. Like it was just, it started with like I'm gonna be that dude. I'm gonna tell you, I've been DJing on Twitch for before anyone was doing that. Not before anyone, but I was doing that a while ago. My boy DJ Rec, shout out to DJ Rec. He put me on Twitch when it was just a gaming platform, and he was like, "Yeah, you could like broadcast on here, you could DJ on here." And at that time, like they weren't really like monitoring anything, so you could get away with the copyright infringement shit. So you could just DJ whatever you wanted to. So I was doing that. So when the pandemic hit, I kind of started doing like DJ sets from my crib. And like granted, like, I'm no D nice. You know what I mean? I didn't have like 500,000 people tuning in. I had more like 20 people tuning in. Yeah. But whatever, like I did it for fun, and like especially like during the pandemic, it was kind of like this like pseudo human contact thing, just interaction. You know what I mean? Just to be able to play music and hang out with people and like bullshit and like talk on the chat or whatever and talk back and forth. It was just kind of fun, man. Like I had like Patton tuning in like while I was doing that shit from my crib. He would tune into my broadcast, but he's not tech savvy, so he didn't know how to get on the chat. So he would text me as I was DJing. He would text me the whole time with requests and like telling me how much he loved what I was playing, and like but it was a blast, man. It was great. And I mean, like it was also like I'd sit in like in my home office because I couldn't even come to the studio. Like I was just stuck at home, and I had built like a little setup. Like I brought home enough gear just to kind of work on stuff there. And I was DJing like off an iPad. Basically, it was an excuse to like hang out in my office and like drink scotch and drink some beer and just
doing
like,
a thing. I'm not just
it's just to do something during that time. You know what I mean? So it kind of started from that, and then from there, like one night, I just decided I had brought home like this gear, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just like work on live beats and just broadcast that. So I did that. Like I broadcasted like a session. It's probably like 2-3 hours of me just kind of working on these beats. And people tuned in. Same deal. I was hanging out, drinking, talking, working on these beats. And then at the end, like somebody was like, "Yo, like where can I buy that?" And I was like, "Buy that." I'm gonna tell you something, man. For as much as I will say that we know how to make music. Dälek as a band and myself as a person, I am a terrible business person because that shit never crossed my mind. I was like, sell it. I'm like, huh? I was
Can you do that?
Sell it, you say? I was like,
tell me more about this comment.
Yeah. So I was like, oh shit. I was like, yeah. I was like, all right, maybe I'll put it up on Bandcamp or something, and you can buy it there. And they were like, yeah, do that. And I was like, okay. So I did that, and then it just happened. It coincided with, I think it was like right before the Bandcamp Friday. And then like once that Bandcamp Friday thing kind of started, I was like, shit. I was like, maybe I should like, because I was like, there's no prospects of shows, there's no prospects of anything right now. I was like, so maybe I should just like try to like release, something monthly. And I started doing that, and it was just kind of ill because like I've never really worked on anything that was that immediate. So I was like having that constraint of having to record, mix, do the artwork, and release a project every month. I had never really done that, so it kind of lent itself to like being able to speak on what was happening at the time.
Yeah,
and as it was happening. So, usually like Dälek releases take like a year or two. So like having like one out every month was a brand new experience. And I will say it definitely translated to Precipice, because like when we like restarted and like started working that again, because like that immediacy was a beautiful thing. And it was also, I think like, to some sort of degree, I guess I lean towards trying to be like a perfectionist on Dälek records. And I feel like working on the meditation series kind of got me away from that, where I was like, I don't care, I was releasing shit that was really raw, but it was more about just getting like the emotion and like the feel of it out, and not really giving a fuck about like how raw it was. And there was something kind of really beautiful about that. And it just, again, like they just kind of like evolved from like almost like a live beat tape to more, kind of experimental, kind of just like it went wherever it needed to go, like from month to month. And then I started dropping in like more produced songs in there. So there's actual like Dälek songs that that are in there in various meditation releases that I just I didn't really like advertise it or nothing, but I was just just putting like new joints in there as I was working on them. And then when things like when the studio opened up again, like my boy Dev One, who's somewhere in the background, it's around there somewhere. That's Complex, that's not him, but Dev One was one of my first people that came through to the studio, and me and him actually worked on a couple joints, and I ended up putting those on the meditation. So there's like Dälek songs like with another MC, and just like it kind of like they became like these like albums, what I mean? Like, and there's 7 of them. It is crazy. It's like they came out so quickly. Even now, like when I go back and listen to them, there's like parts that I don't remember like creating or putting out, and I'm like happily surprised by it. I mean, like there's definitely like dope moments on there, man. So yeah, it was great, and I definitely feel like that whole experience really, translated into what Precipice became, because it like all of a sudden it wasn't, like I wasn't too concerned about, oh, we got to make the perfect record. I was just more like, yo, we need to make the record that needs to come out with the feel that it needs to have right now, and that it just like having that platform of meditations like just like mentally kept me focused, just creatively, just overall, man. Like I don't know like where I would be without it, really. And also like for the people that copped it, man, like that was my, like they really looked me out, man. Yeah. That was bread, man. That was bread that I wouldn't have if, like if people weren't supporting it. So I'm forever grateful to the people that copped it, man. Word up.
Yeah, those Bandcamp Fridays, that was and continues to be a very nice thing for musicians.
Yeah, word up. And I think there's one this Friday.
There absolutely is, and it's, if nothing else, it gets people thinking about actually buying music. Yeah,
no doubt. And I think what Bandcamp did is a really beautiful thing just for artists like in general, man. Like now, a lot of companies want to talk about like how like they're for the artists, but like Bandcamp really showed that they are.
Yeah, don't tell us, show us.
Yeah, word up. And they really did. I mean? Like I hope, like I know that they've been sold and all that, but I really hope that it continues like on that trajectory, like where they really are for the artists, man, because there's not many companies like that,
Yes. Hard agree. That's a controversial opinion, but I agree with that. Yeah.
This one that looks like the soda. The orange soda one. Yeah, it's a good one. The orange soda beer. I'm getting another beer. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Okay. I wanted to talk a bit about some collabs. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the Faust one.
Work.
When I first heard y'all's music, one of the first things I thought of was like, oh, there's like kind of krautrock elements to this.
Yeah. Well, I'll be like Faust. I've been a Faust fan for a while. Octopus as well. My first co-producer, and yeah, like linking up with them was crazy, man. Because like we had it was a Classical Homicide, which is on it's on Filthy Tongue, but it was actually a 12-inch on Matador before that. We did a split 12-inch with Techno Animal.
Yeah,
where,
that's right. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So on that split 12-inch, like that was the first time like we, Classical Homicide was one of those songs that we toured on like the first record, Negro Necros forever. I think we toured on that for like maybe like 4 to 5 years, and we just kind of added a couple songs to the set list. And Classical Homicide was one of those first ones that we were playing live early before it was ever on any record. So we put that on that 12-inch, and we had a booking agent in Germany who happened to know Hans Joachim Ermler, and he gave him the 12-inch, and he heard it. And there's the line on Classical Homicide where I say, "How many MCs know who Faust is?" And he was just him and Zappi, the drummer. They were like, "Yo, like, who are these guys?"
Yeah,
and like we want to meet them. So yeah, like we were in Europe. We went to Joachim's house, met with them, and the lineup that Faust was at that time. It was like basically it was Zappi. I can't remember. It was like Zappi and Joachim were the two like original members that were in the group at that time. And then they had like it was like an American guitar player and a French bass player, but who weren't original to the band. But like Zappi and Joachim are founding members. So I was like, as far as I'm concerned, that's Faust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So like we got to chill with them, and yeah, they said they wanted to collaborate, and it was really as like simple as that. And it just it all kind of feels like a fog, man. It was just kind of like, okay, and we set up some time to come back and like record with them, and it was just like so easy. It was like we would hang out, we would eat, we would drink, and then like we would kind of wander down. At that time, it was like in the basement of his house, like where the studio was. We would wander down to the basement and just organically just kind of like pick up instruments and start recording. And Joachim was always recording everything, and we did that for a few days. It was myself, Octopus, and DJ Still at the time, and recorded with them. And then Joachim kind of went through the tapes and like made these mixes. And I think there might be like maybe like 6 or 7 different versions of that album that he kept sending us. And then he kind of like, and like it's like slight variations from each one. They're not like it's not like completely different albums, but just like different track orders, different mixes, different takes and all that. But he finally like sent one that that he was happy with, and yeah, he put it out on his label, and yeah, it was crazy, man. Like that to this day, like I'm still not exactly sure how that happened, but yeah, it happened. And also like most of my career, drinking has a lot to do with it. I feel like that there's a story I keep telling people, like when they ask me about Faust. It was like probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. We were in his control room, and it was like me, him, and Octopus, and we were drinking wine straight out the bottle and passing it around. And he was like, I remember he was like, "You guys are just like Faust," and like, this is Hans Joachim Ermler telling me we're just like Faust. I'm like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And then he takes a breath and he's like, "You'll never make any money." And I was like, fuck.
Like, that's what you meant.
Yeah. I was like, yes. And he was correct. Like he was a very wise man. Very wise man.
So again, and as we've established, you're an act as you share the stage with a lot of different types of bands, different types of artists and things like that. Anything spring to mind as far as just like out of the left field interactions, or like pleasantly surprising interactions like along those lines?
I mean, I've had so many, man. It's been crazy. Like just like the idea of like how many like bands that I've been influenced by, that I've been a fan of, that I've gotten to like meet, gotten to play shows with, gotten to speak, and like have had them tell me like, oh, like like even if it was just like a one time that we saw each other, we were like, yo, I saw your set, that was amazing. You know what I mean? Like to have people that I respect say that to us was just like stuff like that is just crazy to me, man. But off the top, I'm thinking I remember we played Supersonic Festival, and damn, I'm blanking on my man's name, but man, the New York band drummer and electronics, Silver Apples.
Oh snap!
Uh,
Yeah.
My dude, he passed away recently.
He did, yeah.
Years ago. But not the drummer passed away like years ago. But like the main guy, like the vocalist synthesizer guy. Damn, why am I blanking on his name? I feel like a jerk. But anyway, he played like right after us in the lineup, and I guess like he watched us perform, and like we walked off stage, and he was just like so cool, and like, you know, like I was telling him like how much his music meant to me, and like he was just like so complimentary of what we were doing, and just so genuine. And like those moments, man, like it's crazy to me, man. Like, yo, working with Charles Hayward from This Heat, like that to me, it's like the fact that I can call Charles a friend is insane to me. Yeah, I mean, like I still can't quite wrap my head around that. But yeah, Charles, like, you know, Charles, like we toured together. And like that's like, it's crazy to me, man. Like This Heat is like monumental to me, man. It's bugged out, man. It really is. But yeah, like for all of that, like touring with Prince Paul. I mean, yeah,
I was gonna say you were the only acts that toured like Godflesh and Prince Paul. You know, I mean,
yeah.
like, that's
like Prince Paul. Like we toured with him, and like he would straight up like he, you know, he was headlining because he's Prince Paul, of course. But he would get on and he'd be like, "Yo, shout outs to Dälek." He's like, yo, those motherfuckers is really doing it. I'm just up here DJing. And I was just like, yo, but you're Prince Paul, kid.
Yeah.
Like you created some of the most amazing hip hop ever. Like, fuck out of here. But yeah, like I love Paul, man. Like, yeah. But like all those moments, man, like, you know, playing with Farside. We played with the Roots. The Roots invited us down. I remember for a recorded session where they would just like to like jam with like different bands. And I remember like we came down and we're part of that. Like it, you know, like our styles didn't really mesh, but there was obviously respect between both bands. It just didn't, you know, like we couldn't really come to a place where like what we were both doing worked. But I just the idea that, you know, that they wanted us in the studio, like I was humbled by that, man.
Yeah, I think that's huge. That's an honor.
Yeah, complete honor, man. Like I think Black Thought is like one of the best MCs on the planet. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, like Questlove, ill drummer, like ill group, man. So like to be around cats like that, man, and like to have those interactions, like those, to me, that's what, you know, Faust was absolutely right. You know what I mean? Like we're just like Faust, we never made any money, but guess what? Like Faust also hung out with the Rolling Stones. Really? And I feel, I mean, and it's like, I feel like to that degree we have like similar paths in that he's right. Like we are that. It's like I've been able to like create music with unbelievable artists. You know what I mean? I've been able to tour with Tool. Yeah, I mean, like, I ain't mad, man. Like, I've done what I want to do, and I continue to do it, and I'm grateful for that, man.
I mean, I think you got to get ahead about all of it, you know, and it's the kind of thing where that'll carry you forward in the lean times.
Yeah, I mean, like, yo, on the real, listen, like, I grew up broke, so that shit doesn't matter to me. I never became a musician to become famous or rich. That's not, like, that was never on my agenda. I became a musician to create ill music, and I do that. So I'm good. You know what I mean?
It's already successful, yeah.
Yeah, I got, real talk. I think like the only, I've had people ask me like, you know, like what advice can you give to younger musicians? And I'm like, I don't really know because the landscape has changed so much. I'm like, but the one thing I can tell them is that the most important thing is that you need to define what success means to you early, and you need to define it. Don't let anyone else define that, because like you decide what it's about. If it's about fame and it's about record sales, okay, cool, but then approach it that way. If it's about, you know, music, if it's about, you know, experimenting, you know, you have to define what it is for you. You know what I mean? Like no one else can define that for you. And like once you find like the path that you want to take it. And like, you know, that's, you know, you'll find happiness that way. If you let someone else define it for you, you'll never be happy. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. That's not going to be the end goal of someone else, is to hopefully define you. Not generally. I suppose it maybe has happened once or twice ever. Yeah. You got some tours coming up, man.
Yeah, we got some European dates. Hopefully, I say hopefully because nothing. I feel like nothing's 100% anymore in this world. So yeah, we hope they go down. We have like some UK dates and some European dates. We have a New York show and Boston show, uh, and then there's more things in the works. So yeah, I'm excited to get back out there, man. Word up.
Well, you got a killer record to do it with, so that's how.
Yeah. I can't on the real. Like I'm excited to get out there and play the new songs. Definitely.
Well, this has been killer, man. Thank you so much for doing it. Appreciate you. Glad we got to make this happen. Last thing is the only canned question I ever ask guests, so you can choose to interpret this however you like.
Word.
Why do you do what you do?
I have no choice.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I have to.
Well, I appreciate that you do.
All right. I appreciate that you appreciate that
I do. Be safe out there.
No doubt, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, take care, man.
Take care.
Oh, there he goes. Will Brooks. Let's listen to one of the songs off of this killer record, man. Pick it up. It's Bandcamp Day tomorrow. If you're listening to this in real time, watching this in real time, and if not, it's out. It's just like it's 5:00 somewhere. It's Bandcamp Day somewhere, man. Go get it. This is Heretic's Inheritance.
base levels. Prevalent systems seem built for decay. Delayed reaction to dismay displayed in various ways. Thoughts convey concise, oppression seen as might. Toppled by concepts of patience and leverage. Privilege is hemorrhage and relabeled heritage. A heretic's inheritance, so complex to identify as American. Half saying it's better when other halves attack my shepherds. Quick to dismiss the very facts of a past mad checking. I played chess done, put away your checkers. We got to do better. My expectations are tempered. Your contempt for gnosis is showing, exposing fragile form lines. Tipping time has turned out to be small time. Still guilty of war crimes. Honestly, don't miss the before time. Crime to execute my best work. Exert energy fractional to its return. In turn, I've learned actual worth of each word. Align geometric to amplify the message. A testament to the ancestors. Ain't big on your grand gestures. Empty promises littered across these great plains. Blood-soaked remains, nurtured fertile soil. A numerous release from their mortal call in the name of progress. What we see are monsters, reflected and refracted from metastasized cancer. What we lost is time, wealth, and answers. We see heroes and pandas. Hold myself to a higher standard. Don't give a fuck if your gods are angry. I hold myself to a higher standard. I don't give a fuck if your gods are angry. Tick-tock, motherfucker. Skip burnt, branded, abandoned, barely hides the real damage. Used to my advantage, y'all can't help but be average. The charges are static, so I manage. Most are fought to panic. We born of concrete and granite. Survival is automatic. From my vantage, the tactics are classic. Mechanics to cause havoc. Impact the phrase, lost the phase, the dynamic. I hold myself to a high standard. I don't give a fuck if your gods are angry. Hold myself to a high standard. I don't give a fuck if your gods are angry. Hold myself to a high standard. I don't give a fuck if your gods are angry. I mistake tasers for Glocks. I mistake is accepting what we got as our lot. Nah, I ain't part of no flock. I got these verbals on lock. My T's get an inverted cross. My eyes a red dot. Y'all can stop with that fake shot. I'm in this space with face not. Our kids forced to face cops. Society's more concerned with stocks drop. Force-fed scraps met with stock pots. To them, we work more parts of chop shops. Sick with these Oshkosh motherfuckers getting burgers and whatnot. Sick with these Oshkosh motherfuckers getting burgers and whatnot. Sick with these Oshkosh motherfuckers getting burgers and whatnot. Sick with these Oshkosh motherfuckers getting burgers and whatnot. If we breathe wrong, we can't breathe. Chokeholds and knees, thought like birds in the bees. Live beneath the sword of Damocles. Best believe we burn phones. Unknown pleasures got these rabbit mouse phones. Full grown, into full poems. Set to ancient rhythms and even more ancient drones. Dying tones fill air, believe that C sharp. Never seen you say there only see sharks. It brought more path off track to see the seas part. Look how fragile it is once this disease starts. Cause this world is known. Most these heads is known. And the cops is known. On the block we all. Cause this world is known. Most these heads is known. And the cops is known. On the block we all. Mistake my kindness for weakness. Ain't beneath slapping the shit at you. And only be a half facetious. These humans is fickle creatures. Prefer my albums with zero features. Believers await on the prophecy. I'm awaiting the change. Sam Cooke said there ought to be. Fuck the hypocrisy. Same shit I think. I broadcast it back audibly. Cause this world is known. Most these heads is known. And the cops is known. On the block we all. Cause this world is known. Most these heads is known. And the cops is known. On the block we all.
All right. So that's good. That is not just good, that is the song good. Off of the record Precipice. Which you can get on this.
Is this thing on?
Bandcamp Friday Eve at the time of this recording. Precipice by Dälek.
Can you hear me now?
Go get it. It's fresh. Very fresh. Before that, we had my personal favorite on the record. A Heretic's Inheritance. Featuring Adam Jones of Tool. Dig that one.
Are we going?
It's good. It's a good record. Go check it out.
Is this thing on?
Many thanks to Will Brooks for coming on Protonic Reversal. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I sure did. The name of the show is Protonic Reversal. Thank you very much for listening to it. This show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. Why did I screw that up? RadioNope.com, also YouTube, Twitch. The archives are always free. ProtonicReversal.com. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding. Unbought, unbowed, undefeated.
Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea.
If you like the show and want to help out and get episodes sooner, Patreon.com/Protonic Reversal. $1 a month will achieve that goal. And we thank you for it.
I've got...
Thanks, everybody, leaving reviews, sharing the episodes around. That really helps people find the show. Lots of people finding the James Williamson episode for some reason.
Ionize the air.
And thanks for listening, too. I do appreciate it. Lots of good stuff coming up. Stu Spasm of Lubricated Goat next week.
Sound into electricity.
I'm stoked for that. Stay safe out there.
Can you hear me now? Out on Route 128.
And take it easy.
Dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? This is a test! If this had been a real emergency, hey, hey! This